Hello, beautiful goddess. I am Jenny Jo Allen, and we are going to be talking about all the different kinds of guides. Are they safe? Are they sketchy? Or are they downright scary? We're going to be talking about, all the different kinds of light beings that I would put in the light being category. And we're also going to be talking about the um, darker beings of darkness, and what they look like, what they feel like, what kind of influence they have, and what it feels like to connect with them and to receive messages from them. And that part's really super important because there are five main attributes that are very different between beings of light and beings of darkness. And so I'm going to be covering those, including the number one distinguishing difference between the kinds of messages that you get from beings of light versus the kinds of messages that you get from beings of darkness. And we're going to talk about how beings of darkness cloak themselves, how they conceal themselves. They sometimes put on costumes. I mean, it's really interesting. So this is our Halloween spooky masterclass where we're going to be diving into the subject matter that's on the darker side of light work and dovetails in perfectly with the thinning of the veil that's happening right now at this time of year. So, my name is Jenny Jo Allen, and I am a clairvoyant healer. And I help women transform their lives, totally embrace their soul path and their soul's calling, really clarify their intuition, expand their gifts, and find out what their gifts really are, what all of their gifts are. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've been a Reiki master since 2001. I've been doing this work full time. I transitioned into full time about 8 years ago. And so that's part of what I really help women with is when you're in a transition or when you want to transition out of that job that's sucking your soul right out of you and leaving you totally drained and not having enough time to really focus on your soul purpose, focus on your intuitive gifts, and really drains your energy for being able to share those gifts and figure out the whole business part. So that is something that I can really help with. I have tons of experience, and I bring all of my experience into that work that I do. And the program that I have going right now is called the Goddess of Light. I have 3 openings right now. If you're interested in that, go ahead and click on the link that's in the description, and that'll get you to a 30-minute free consultation where we can assess your energy, assess what's going on in your life, figure out what your next best steps are, and which one of my services would be the best for you at this time. Okay, so guides, the lighter side. Guides, angels, beings of light, cosmic helpers, and fairies. Those are all groups that I have a lot of connection with. I have a lot of involvement with because unlike a lot of other light workers, I don't call my own guides into sessions. I work with them individually, like on my own. But during sessions, I focus all of my attention on my clients' guides. So because of that, I'm able to not only see, like if there's anything hanging around that shouldn't be, but I can also see, like who is connected with them on the light side, who are their helpers. And those helpers know my client better than my guides ever could. So I feel like that's really important to bring in the helpers of the person that I'm working with. Um, So so the different kinds, like the cosmic beings of light, I really love. There are so many different groups. They come from all over the universe, and um, mainly I work with guides that are inside our soul, our galaxy. But I have worked with some that are from outside of the galaxy, way far outside of our galaxy. And it's fascinating. It's different. It's really different. It's really interesting. Um, I have discovered all different kinds of things about cosmic helpers um, and where they come from, what they're called. I'm constantly meeting new groups and understanding their attributes better. Some of my favorites that come a lot, maybe there are just a lot of star seeds from those star systems. I'm like checking in right now. You can see my eyes going like that. I'm checking in on that, and they're all like, yep, 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 yep. So, yeah, lots of people on Earth from the star systems that are connected with the avian beings who are bird beings. Well, they're what we would equate to bird beings. They have these big, long sort of beaks that are pointy like this, and they don't use vocal cords. They're 100% telepathic. They have this sort of like blue gray um, cloak that they wear. It's kind of like feathers, but it's kind of like a cloak. And their whole being is like this blue color. It's a really deep blue gray color. And they're super big, super powerful, and they always have like this really profound kind of energy about them. They're very serious. Um, and uh, and they're very helpful with pointing the way to different options and solutions. So another group that I work with a lot are the Pleiadian beings. A lot of people work with the Pleiadian beings. They come from the Pleiades system. There are a lot of different planets there. And then and the Pleiadian beings are very in, involved in humanity as far as I don't know, they're just very interested in our development. And so they have a lot of knowledge, which is really great. There's a lot of knowledge to tap in with there because they've been keeping an eye on us and our development for thousands of years. Very interesting to them. We're very interesting to them. There are also the beings from Sirius, the star system Sirius, and they always have this warm, like yummy, sort of saturated light about them. They have a lot of energy stores. Like, you know, when they come, it's like this great boost of warm energy. Um, and then another group that I work with a lot are the Karelian beings. I've never heard anybody else talk about them, but they have this really, the color that I associate with them is like this peachy color. And because they show up with that peachy color all the time. The another group that I work with are the Lemurian beings, and they have a substation here on Earth near Mount Shasta. Actually, underneath, not underneath Mount Shasta, but underneath that little mountain that's right next to them. I know it has a name, but I don't know it right now. Um, and that's where I've seen them anyway. I think there are various reports on that, but that's where I've seen them. It's like this, it's almost like an airport. I don't know where they go. I haven't really explored it fully, but I have found it interesting. um, and the Lemurian beings don't ever touch the ground. They float. They have this very light sort of continence about them. They are almost translucent, but not quite. They are also blue, but a very light blue. Reminds me of the stone celestite. Just their energy reminds me of that stone. And yeah, you can look it up, celestite. It has this very etheric, dreamy kind of quality about it. The Lemurian beings have been um, on Earth for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, very, very, very long time. Um, and with the work that I've done with them, apparently they used to have physical bodies, kind of like, you know, more in the human realm that we exist in. I also work a lot with angels, and there are three distinctive groups of angels that I have been in contact with. They're the archangels, which are they're super duper big. They have giant wings, really fluffy and feathery and white. And then there are some other angelic beings that are it's like the archangels, and then these other group of angelic beings, and then underneath that it's almost like stratosphere layers. And then so the middle ones have, they have big wings, but not nearly like the archangels. Also, the archangels are very humanoid. They're just like giant humans. The this other middle layer, they are more like they wear like robes, and so it's kind of hard to tell what body they have. They're a little bit more elusive in that way. They're not as communicative, but they really know human bodies well, and so I do a lot of my healing work with that group of angels. There's also another group of angels that are more like messengers. They have these wings that are really, they're like narrow and built for speed. They are fast, and they do stuff. They take away unhelpful energy and return it to the flow of light in the universe, so it can be transformed. They also bring messages, bring stuff. They're really super fast. They do a lot of helping with healing. Also, the angels are they're very human oriented, and they're really wonderful healers for the human body. Um, okay, so another group that I work with a lot are the fairy beings, and there are so many different kinds of fairies. There are oh my gosh, there are ones that are called the she beings, and just 1 second. The she, it's spelled Sidhe. It's Gaelic. And the she beings are very tall. They have these sort of white robes, and their hair is even white. It's like they're just these shimmering white beings, and they're always sort of very um I don't know, strict. They're very serious. They're not playful at all. They have like very important information to share. Um and I don't mean to make fun, because they do have very important information to share, and they're very serious. And then there are these ones that are like furry little creatures that kind of remind me a little bit of the Ewoks in Star Wars. In Star Wars Return of the Jedi, those little Ewoks, they kind of remind me of those guys. They're furry and small, but they're inner earth beings, and they beat the drums of the heartbeat of inner earth. And so they kind of keep this amazing rhythm, and it's this grounding. It's really amazing when they come into a session. Um, so some of the other ones are dragons, all different kinds of dragons, and all different colors of dragons. Um, and then there are the winged fairies, the winged ones, I call them, because there are a bunch of different kinds. There are also the plant spirits, the tree spirits, and the elemental beings, so fire, water, earth, and air, wind spirits, those kinds of beings. Those are all part of the greater fairy realm that exists alongside our realm, but in a different vibrational layer. So it's almost like a different dimension that exists simultaneously with our dimension, but separate because it's a different vibration. Okay. So that is sort of the, just an overview of the different kinds of guides that I work with regularly. If you have any comments or have any questions, just pop them into the comments. So some of the demonic ones, let's cover those guys. Some of the interesting sort of lower vibrational beings or dark beings of darkness that I've encountered are some of them are actually demonic. And just a little caveat here. This is not a realm that I really enjoy hanging out in. So I haven't done a huge amount of research. I haven't spent a lot of time with these beings. I've spent just enough to know how to work with them and to help them release from people that don't want them anymore in their energy, in their lives, and don't want their influence anymore. So, in sessions, I believe in free will. I believe that it's not really my place to tell a person what to do with the beings that they have around them or how to handle stuff. I just talk about what I see and give my client the option of, these are the different options that I'm seeing. What would you like to do? And that's the way that I run sessions, because I totally believe in the intelligence of the person that I'm working with. And I believe in their free will. So I leave it up to them. And sometimes that has been really hard for me. Not very often. Most of the time they're like, oh, yes, get rid of that thing. But occasionally there have been energy attachments and beings that the person has really not wanted to let go of. And I have had to accept that, and that's hard. That's been hard. So there was only one time that I encountered a being I would call a being of destruction, and that was wildly intense to get to let go of my client. And it took a huge amount of work. And also, if you were in my last masterclass, you will have heard this story already, but I had two guides that were, just part of my office staff. One of them was librarian, and he would go and fetch information for healing, for whatever I was doing in the session that I needed some outside information. He would go and fetch that for me from like this cosmic library. And then the other one was door guardian, and door guardian just obviously guarded my door and made sure that our space was safe. And so those two guides, when I was when I was banishing, I think banishing is probably a better word, because it really didn't want to. It didn't want to go. Yeah, so anyway, my guides almost got sucked into the black hole that I opened up in order to get rid of this demonic being of destruction. And that was rough. They didn't get sucked in, but after that they retired. They said, okay, we're done here. We can't handle any more of that. The interesting thing was that I felt totally calm. I wasn't rattled by the experience, which was really interesting. Anyway, those beings of utter destruction are not common. Not common. I have seen unhealthy attachments on other people as well. And some of them are quite sticky and very difficult to get rid of. And the main thing is that you need to give them someplace to go, and sometimes they really don't want to. They're totally happy just sucking off of the energy of the person that they're attached to. And yeah, and or maybe they're scared. That's another thing that's come up is like they're scared to let go. They don't, they've been in this realm and attached to this person for so long that they don't even know, they don't remember what it's like to go home, to go back to where they came from. Sometimes they're interdimensional, sometimes yeah, mostly it's interdimensional beings. There are lots of different kinds of entities, attachments, and lower vibrational beings, just as many as there are light beings. Uh, but there you need to have a resonance that's a match to these beings in order for them to be able to attach to you. So sometimes that can happen, if you've had a history of drug abuse, or if you have, had a really difficult childhood with a lot of neglect, abuse, abandonment, or violence, in particular violence, that can really cause a lower vibrational energy that attracts other lower vibrational energies, physical, like human people that are lower vibrational people, and then also entities and dark side beings. Yeah, so those things, you when you're a child, you can't control your environment, and so that stuff's not your fault. If you went down a difficult path of drug use and now you're on the other side of that, sometimes those energies can cling. Or as you're doing your healing, they can come back up to the surface after being buried, and come back up to the surface and then start attracting stuff. So, there are a lot of different ways in which darker beings can attach to you. Sometimes it's past life, sometimes it's ancestral. I have seen, yeah, one of the groups I'm going to talk about right now are the reptilian beings, and they have been on Earth for millennia, so long, so long, and but they are similar to the fairy beings. They exist in a sort of like a side along dimensional reality that is a different vibration than the human one. It's also a different vibration than the fairy one. The fairy vibration is very high, very, very high. It's kind of like how dogs can hear in, sounds that our ears can't hear. So, the fairy vibration is very, very high. The human vibration is kind of somewhere in the middle. And then the reptilian vibration is definitely a lot lower. But does it mean that they're bad? I don't know. We put judgments like bad and good on stuff. I just call them lower vibrational because it's a different vibration than I want to resonate at. And, that's just a choice that I've made for my life. So that's one of the reasons that it isn't a realm that I really like to dive into and explore. But I know enough about the reptilian beings. They actually were watching me for a while. And it had to do with, I was involved with this other practitioner. She's Canadian. Anyway, there was a lot of kooky stuff going on with her, and her group of people that she was working with. And when I started to figure it all out, I was like, whoa, okay, yeah, I need to like extract myself from that. But yeah, there were some reptilian beings that started watching me after I had been working with her. And And it was interesting because when I finally recognized them, could see this giant eyeball, reptilian eyeball there. And I just like, I have this technique now that I use where if they're watching you and you don't want them to, you watch them back. I've also done the thing where I've poked them in the eye. That's another good one. And this is all done with intention. You do this energy work with intention. That's the way the energy moves. As soon as you have that intention and everything's on board with that intention, then the energy moves. That's exactly how we do manifesting too. So reptilians, I've seen bunches of different kinds of lower vibrational beings that actually cloak or disguise themselves as angels or other kinds of, it's like the wolf in sheep's clothing kind of thing. Like, seriously, a couple of times I've seen this and it's just been like, whoa, that's crazy. And they're really bad at it too. I have to just say that. They're really bad at it. Their costumes suck. It's been so funny. There was one that I opened this woman's Akashic records, and I always see something like right at the very beginning. As soon as the Akashic records open, there's some kind of message or some kind of vision or some kind of like representation of what sort of the main theme of the session is going to be about. And so I opened this woman's Akashic records, and immediately I was like, there's something going on with your crown chakra. And it was so weird because it was like the light came up off of the top of her crown, but then like diffused, and I wasn't able to see around it. I wasn't able to see. It was like this blind spot. That's another way that you can tell if there's something not right in your energy field, that you'll have these blind spots, and that's where they conceal themselves. Anyway, there was this guide. It looked like an angel, but it was right in her crown chakra. And I was like, that's not right. That's not the way that's supposed to be. No, nope, nope, nope. And the more I looked and the more I like really felt around it, the faster the cloaking fell away. It's like I was able to peel the disguise away, and then I was like, aha. So yeah, we dealt with that pretty much right away. Oh, it was interesting. And so that was super blocking her light. It was blocking her connection. It was blocking her ability to connect with beings of light. It was distorting her intuition. It was distorting her inner knowing. I mean, yeah, that one was a doozy. That was a doozy. Um, yeah, so they impersonate and cloak and sometimes disguise um, in other ways. And sometimes they just watch. Like, you know, the reptilian beings, their main goal is to farm lower vibrational energy. It's like food for them. It's like it's energy. It's something that they farm, and they farm that off of humans because, you've all seen the charts. There's a chart, love is way up high, acceptance is way up high, grief is way down low, depression way down low, anxiety is down low there too. There are, anger and blame and stuff like that down in those lower vibrations. And when you're resonating with those lower vibrations and you're like on an anger jag, sometimes that's because you're being influenced. Sometimes it's because, whatever your upbringing was, that was just like the normal way of being. And so it's like, it's just got perpetuated. So there can be a lot of different reasons that we find ourselves being angry or or constantly frustrated or constantly in anxiety or constantly in depression, there can be a lot of different reasons for that. And, you know, self blame is definitely a lower vibrational energy, so don't go there. If you want to find out, you know, get down to the bottom of stuff, that's when you reach out to me. Um, so there are 5 main differences between when you're receiving messages. A lot of people, like, you know, get downloads, or are, you know, when they're praying or connecting with guides, they're wondering, like, am I getting good guidance, or is this something that I need to be concerned about? So I did work with a woman one time who had been influenced by this lower vibrational guide. I'm putting that in air quotes, for a long time. Actually, it had been over a year, and the the instructions that this being had started giving her were getting more and more intense. It was escalating. So this is like the main reason, the number one or the number one difference, or like red flag that you can notice. Like if you're receiving guidance from a guide, and the guidance is influence or instruction, and particularly if it is directed towards, you know, self-harm or harming others, that kind of guidance is not safe. That's downright scary. um, if you're connecting with helpers or guides who are presenting ideas, or giving suggestions, or are just available when you ask for guidance on this thing or that thing, um, that is safe. Excuse me. Um, so, so safe is when you are connecting with a guide that just gives suggestions or gives options or gives ideas. Unsafe is when you're connecting with a guide that is telling you what to do, when to do it, how long to do it for. And, you know, like in her case, it was stop eating certain foods. It was, you know, there was all this starvation going on. There was, and at first she thought that it was helpful because she was, you know, asking questions about her diet, like, should I be doing this or doing that? And this influence started coming, and then it got more and more intense to where she lost a lot of weight, and it was moving definitely in the direction of self-harm. And then it started giving her all kinds of other instructions. She ended up becoming homeless, and quite ill, actually. And it finally escalated to the point where she couldn't get this being to shut up, and she had to listen to music constantly in order to drown out the you know, all the instructions that this being was giving to her. So she did end up working with somebody who specialized in that. That wasn't me. She worked with somebody who specialized in that, and contacted me about a year later and said that she was doing a lot better, and I was really glad to hear from her. I was really happy to hear about that. So that's the number one way that you can tell whether you're working with a being of darkness or a being of light, is, are they giving you helpful hints, ideas, or suggestions, or are they telling you what to do? They're telling you what to do, run away screaming, get some help immediately. Okay, so the number two difference between beings of light and beings of darkness is attachment. So, you know, like I talked about with that woman who had a being in her crown chakra. It was attached to her. If you feel like somebody's always there, but just out of sight, like maybe they're just behind you, behind your shoulder, um, even if it feels kind of comforting because you know that they're always there, it might be something to get checked out. So, something that's like actually in your energy field. Beings of light don't do that. Beings of light don't do that. They don't attach. Never. They never ever attach. They never ever tell you what to do. They're for the most part, they don't give a crap what you do. If you ask for help, then they're like, oh, okay, you're asking for help, sure. And then they'll come in. If you're just getting random advice from a guide, that's probably not a helpful guide. Probably not. So another one is coercion and manipulation. So that's, right in there with what I was talking about before about beings of darkness and how they manipulate, they coerce, um, they guide you with influence and instruction, and make you do things, like they make you do things within a certain time frame. Like they put time limits on stuff. Beings of light, they don't have attachments with time. In fact, for the most part, when I'm doing readings, especially in the Akashic Records, time moves differently in the spiritual realm, and getting like exact timing kinds of nailing down exact timing is really one of those wiggly things. It's difficult to pin down time. So if you're getting guidance with exact timing, like you need to do this by such and such a date, otherwise bad things are going to happen. Not good. Okay, number 4 is being watched, or being too close for comfort. That was another one. When the reptilian beings were watching me, it was always kind of like right out of my sight. It was in my blind spot. I had to like turn and then catch them unawares, and then it would be like, whoa, there's a giant eye looking at me. Or another time I saw, this is where I'm going to sound really crazy, cray. I saw the reptilian beings in something that looked kind of like a spaceship. I don't know. It had like plexiglass, a view screen type of thing, and I was being watched through that. And I was like, that's weird. Never seen anything like that before. I don't think I like it. And so I just like watched them back, because the reptilian beings don't like being noticed. They work in secrecy, and they're very ridiculous. They're like slapstick humor gods. They're funny. It's funny watching them scramble. So if you watch them back, if you poke them in the eye, if you do something unexpected, then they really scramble, and it's hilarious. I find them funny. Anyway, so number 5 is the big difference between beings of light and beings of darkness is beings of light, while sometimes you cry as a release of pent-up energy, of grief, of past life, traumas. It's a healing feeling. It's not a very bad feeling. It's a healing release. Whereas beings of darkness will feed off of feelings of upset, anger, blame, rejection, those kinds of feelings. And, they'll really drag you into shame and confusion. That's another one. The reptilians are really good at confusion, because they diffuse the light in order to keep themselves hidden. They're not trying to do it to, well, they kind of are trying to do it to mess with you, because then that puts you into a low vibration and then they feed off of that. But I don't find them particularly evil. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. Anyway, we can get into that a little bit deeper in a private session if you ever want to. You can click on that link that's in the description. If you are ready to learn how to get your light unblocked and really connect with all of your intuitive gifts, and if you are already a light worker, an energy healer, you already know what your soul path is or suspect that you know what your soul path is, the Goddess of Light program is super, super perfect for you, because we uncover all the things that are getting in the way, get all of the energy dams unblocked, get your energy flowing clear and aligned so that you can totally step into that soul purpose that you know is yours. Yeah. Maybe there are energy cord attachments holding you back, siphoning off your psychic power. That happened to me. You know, maybe there's something else going on, some old trauma that needs to be cleaned up, or a past life, you know, witch burning, or, you know, something else that is really getting in your way of being able to share your most amazing, beautiful gifts. And those are all things that I help with. I also help with business strategy. I've been there. I've been self-employed for most of my life. And I know my way around that block. And I can help you package up your services, really see the things that are missing for you. We all have blind spots. And part of my gift is being able to whoosh away the blind spots and shine a spotlight on all the things that need to be seen, so that, you know, you can really have a clear shot at living in alignment with your soul purpose, with unconditional love, and with all of the prosperity that you really want in your life. So jump in there with a free consultation and we can chat about it. I'll give you 30 minutes of my time. We'll do an energy assessment and take a look at what is causing upset in your life, what's getting in your way, and figure out the best steps to getting all that uncovered and getting you like phew, totally rocket shipping all the way into the stratosphere of your dream life, your most beautiful, spiritually aligned, clearly intuitive soul path. That's what I'm here to do. All right, put me to work. We've got 3 spots in my program right now. Jump in. All right, totally appreciate you. See you next time.